Maybe if you can first just tell a little bit about the mental health center where you work, and we'll just start there.
Okay. I work at a recovery education center, and recovery used to be a word that described substance abuse and mental health, but now it's used for both. So we offer outpatient for folks struggling with both, classes, which we call classes instead of groups because they're psychoeducational in nature, individual counseling, assessment, and then we also have an integrated care program there. So for folks who have kind of the highest mental health and medical needs, we know that these folks really visit our health centers a lot, and also that they tend to die a lot earlier than someone else will. So we started an integrated care program about a year ago.
And by integrated care, you've got a physician on staff?
Mm-hmm. We've got a primary care doctor, Dr. Jeter, who was in your integrated care book, happens to be, and he sees folks that need that.
Okay.
So you can go to one place to do everything.
How has he been helpful, without kind of divulging any client specifics, but how has he been helpful?
Sure.
Or, I guess specifically without addressing specifics.
Okay. Well, sometimes it's simply that someone comes in your office and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you've got to look at this," and you're like, "Whoa, I'm not a doctor," and they're showing you something that's really physical, and so it's so nice to walk down the hall and be able to grab a doc and find out what, if anything, needs to be done. Definitely about people are taking lots of medications from their primary care doctor and wondering about interactions, or what happens if I just stop my blood pressure medication. Side effects he can be really helpful with. And then we have a lot of people that have diabetes, COPD, high blood pressure, that are really trying to manage these things. And it just makes sense that they do it all in one building, because they often can't get to their regular doctor, they miss appointments, they're struggling to follow up with recommendations. Sometimes these folks can be really challenging when they show up at the doctor's office, that often doctors fire them, and sometimes they don't have a place to go back to.
Okay, yeah. So then within this, I mean, you offer a comprehensive array of services. Tell me about how do you integrate positive psychotherapy? You mentioned the classes, but maybe you can tell us more about how you actually do positive psychotherapy.
Yeah. We have a positive psychotherapy group, so it's a psychoeducational class. So folks can take that, and we focus each week on what is the general idea of positive psychotherapy, and then we pick a particular skill that week that we're going to work on and challenge the students to practice. So that might be, the topic could be mindfulness, or practicing optimism, or learning about your strengths and how to use them more. So that's one way, is to actually take the class.
Okay.
And then the Recovery Education Center has a recovery model, and that sort of fits really nicely with positive psychotherapy, because the recovery model is about this idea that everyone has strengths and assets, and you can be an expert on you. So it's really easy to implement it just in everydayness. So in our center, people don't have to wait in a waiting room. So sometimes people are there all day, or there for a couple hours, and they're walking through the halls. So you really get to know someone and interact with them quite a bit. And it's easy to start recognizing what people's strengths are, or finding opportunities for them to use those strengths, commenting on ways that they find meaning or purpose, because you're getting to know them outside of that just service that you're providing. So it seems to go real easily in just how we treat people in the lens through which we see them. And then also in individual sessions, or even in an assessment where you're essentially trying to gather a lot of information, we want to use that opportunity to really share with people kind of the strengths that we see, and to use some of those positive psychology pillars of how do you find meaning, and who are you connected with, who's your social support, what kind of relationships do you have outside of here, what are you good at, and are you doing those things anymore? And so it goes right along with gathering information in the assessment to kind of implement that, and then find even little ways in the moment to practice skills with people.
So it sounds like you're infusing psychotherapy in almost every aspect, but you do have a specific class. And so the students, you call them students, are taking classes, not groups. Right. And they choose what they want to go to.
So traditionally, if you went to a mental health service, you would take an assessment, and the person would say, okay, so you've got a major depressive disorder, and you can go to the depression class, and it's Tuesday from 12 to 1, and that's when you would be able to be there. And so when we set it up like a class, it's very much more inviting for people to fit things in that feel important to them. So this could be someone might come in and they don't think they have an alcohol problem, even though it looks that way, and you're talking to them about why it looks that way, and it could be helpful, but maybe they're willing to work on improving their mood by going to positive psychotherapy class, or maybe they're willing to take a class in relationships. So it's kind of a way to really empower them to take steps in their own recovery and what interests them, and maybe at some point they'll start recognizing other challenges that might be there as well.
Yeah, it sounds like it gives personal power. They get to kind of choose what they want to do, and they're not stuck in a group.
Right.
Yeah. In terms of the class, how do you have that set up? I mean, you know, a group might run for 8 sessions, or I mean, what are kind of the specifics of this? Yeah.
Well, in the Recovery Education Center, we do almost all open groups. So we do things in semesters. It's really set up kind of like a tiny community college would be. So each positive psychotherapy group is going to be 11 weeks long. And you do have people coming and going. And this is the reality of community-based mental health, that one class I'll have 11, and then the next class you have 2, and you kind of got to roll with that. And so that's why we really have the psychoeducation model, so that folks can come in and they're not trying to play catch up or I don't get what's going on. We're doing a review of what is positive psychotherapy, what's the point of it, and then focusing on that skill and really trying to hope that they practice it during class, and then finding ways to challenge them to practice it outside of class as well.